I've owned this $599 plastic John boat for about a year now, and we're coming up on our 1-year review, but this build is finally complete. Now, minus the bimini top. I decided the bimini top just wasn't for me as a fisherman, but today we're going to go through an in-depth tour of every single part on my John boat, why it's there, why I would recommend it, why maybe I would do something a little bit different. We're gonna break down the price, and of course, we'll take it for a little bit of a spin. Everything that you see today will be linked in the description, including the trolling motor, the boat itself, every single modification. And if you go through Tiny Boat Nation to get most of this stuff, you will actually get 5% off using my code Greyson Roberts. All right, spot lock's got us held nicely, so we're actually gonna start on the very end with the newest edition and what I've been waiting on to make this video, and why this John boat, although hasn't changed much in a few months, this is the reason that this boat was never complete. I needed a gas outboard. I have been using the E-Propulsion E-Lite, which is a great motor for big ponds and small lakes, not the giant bay, dude. I mean, come on, this is what you need. This is what most people need for big lakes and big bays, and this is what I was waiting on. I wasn't actually sure how I was gonna get one. Outboards are expensive, but the Lord provided through a partnership with Sea Eagle, and they sent me this motor for free. Absolutely, unbelievably blessed. And I really, really like the motor. Not getting paid to say that, even though it was a gift. I earned no commissions and no nothing on it. I just love this outboard. It starts every single time. But these boats are rated for a 6 horsepower max. So 5 is definitely not underpowering it, but not overpowering it. And yes, some countries, this boat is actually rated for a 9.9 and a higher weight capacity. However, that is kind of pushing it. I would say anywhere from 5 to 8 horsepower is really going to be your sweet spot. Now, this 5 horsepower weighs about 60 pounds and pushes this boat in this configuration with just myself and my bow mount setup 14.1 mile an hour. If you haven't seen my video, I don't know if it's out yet, I don't know if I've already posted it or what, where I make a full video talking about gas outboards on these plastic John boats. Check it out. We do in-depth stability tests, all sorts of different fun stuff. Anyway, the gas outboard has been a complete game changer. It's a little bit sketchy going 14 miles an hour. It turns really, really sharp, really fast, faster than sometimes you would really want to go, but it's an absolute game changer, and it is just perfect. Get a 6 horsepower if you can, but man, I absolutely love it. Now, I've also got a 3-gallon gas tank back there. I will link the setup as well, because Honda takes a very specific kind of nozzle configuration. Now, this holds a little bit less than a half a gallon, which will put you running wide open 14 mile an hour on this boat with this configuration for about 40 minutes. Now, I have a 3-gallon gas tank because, well, ooh, that sucker needs to vent. Yeah, these new cheap gas tanks, for these companies to get around these EPA things, they don't have vents. Anyway, but yes, 3-gallon gas tank will last me longer than I could ever possibly want to be on this boat. So I just went ahead and did it. But the gas outboard is an absolute game changer. Can't recommend it enough. And the next best option is going to be the Spirit 3.0 3 horsepower equivalent electric outboard. That is another really good option, but it's also going to be slower. No fuel, no gas, no maintenance. And you know, you just plop it on and go. But if you don't want to go the noisy, messy gas outboard route, I would recommend the Spirit 3.0. Highly recommend it. Huge thanks to HumSync Batteries for sponsoring a segment of today's video. Without sponsors like this, this channel would get really expensive really fast. So we love sponsors like HumSync. Now, this is a 310 12-volt lithium battery. This is for bigger boats. If you don't like lifting your battery in and out, if you want to charge your battery once a freaking year for your trolling motor, maybe you have an RV or whatever, if you're looking for a really high capacity lithium deep cycle battery, this is the one, because its budget comes with a 5-year warranty. It is 12 volts, perfect for trolling motors, graphs, electronics, including navigation lights, interior accessory lights, bilge pumps, whatever you want, anything in an RV that runs on 12-volt power. And it's also actually only 60 pounds. So you get 310 amp hours for 60 pounds. And if you are curious how far you could go with a trolling motor with this thing nonstop, I took a 46-pound thrust, 100 amp hour battery, about, I think it was 5 miles, and it used about 50% battery. So that would be at 100% DOD, depth of discharge, 10 miles. So technically, I think you should go over 30 miles full blast on a trolling motor with this battery. Anyway, you can check them out in the link in the description. Check out my discount code if you want some money off. God bless you, Humsink, for sponsoring today's video, and back to our regularly scheduled program. Anyway, moving up, I guess the next thing that we're going to hit here is the flooring kit. Now, this is the first thing that if I had to pay for it, I would have done a little bit differently. So as you can see, this is a perfect cutout. We've got the center, we've got the stern compartment, and we've got the bow compartment, and it looks great, and it is an absolute flush fit. This is a custom-made aluminum flooring kit for these John boats, specifically designed by Tiny Boat Nation. Now, it is an absolute game changer, and if you have the means to spend the $320 on the pre-made aluminum kit, I highly recommend it, because if you go the plywood route, the plywood's cheaper, but you got to buy the tools, the labor, all that headache measuring. I just didn't want to do that, and then they reached out and said, would you like to try it? And I said, yup. But this aluminum flooring kit, oh my gosh, I just literally dropped it in. It comes with rivets. You're technically supposed to rivet it down, but I just dropped it in and called it a day. I've got a whole video on how I installed it, because this front compartment gets a little bit weird. The motor was about $2,000, forgot to mention, and the flooring kit is going to be somewhere in the $300 range. I'll pop up all the prices on the screen. Oh, the wind's starting to pick up. Come on, Spotlock. Come on back here. And on the floor, I have Hydro Turf. Now, I got the Hydro Turf on the floor because it is a lot more durable than the cheap $60 roll I used to get this fake wood look. All of the abuse is going to be down here, so I went ahead and got a roll. I think I had to get 2 rolls because this particular black marble color ran a little bit small, and I don't remember the price on that. It was probably $100, $200 for the high-end foam. But then that moves us into the fake wood foam, and that cost me only $60 to do this entire boat, and I actually had some left over. It is really durable, and I still really like it. One of the reasons I like this boat so much better than the Pond Prowler is because I can stand on the benches and just get a little bit more visibility when I'm sight fishing the ultra clear waters here in Panama City, and it has held up fine. I've got it on multiple boats, and it really does work. You're going to want to buy some additional spray adhesive to make sure it really sticks down, and put some heavy stuff on it because it wants to curl. The adhesive that it comes with on the backing is not the best. This stuff is just peel and stick. It's high quality, but that's a little bit cheaper. So definitely get yourself some additional 3M adhesive spray. Like I said, I will link everything, including that, in the description. Moving up here, we have the Newport Vessels battery box. Now this thing is really cool because you have an accessory port right here. On the other side, you have a USB port, you have built-in breakers, and quick connect terminals. So you don't need to use a screwdriver to screw in your battery every single time. Comes with a convenient carrying case. If you have a lead acid, which I don't recommend, you can actually test it, but that function will not work with the lithium batteries. And inside here, I'm not actually sure what we have. I think it's the Lifetime. Yes, it is. It is the Lifetime Bluetooth 100 amp hour model. Now, the reason that the Bluetooth is so awesome, especially if a trolling motor is your primary method of transportation, is simply because you can open up the app, connect to it, you can see your current amp draws. Oh, wow. Okay, it's gonna make me log in. I'm not gonna log in. So essentially, you can see to the minute how much time you have remaining, and it comes with all sorts of battery management protection. So low temp cutoff, high voltage cutoff. It's going to protect all of your electronics, including your graphs, and that's the one thing I don't have on this boat is a graph, and I don't really need it because this is my flats boat, so I chose to go without graphs. Next is a small little detail that only cost me about 30 bucks, but is an absolute game changer, is these cheap plastic 4-inch, maybe 5-inch folding cleats. Now I've got these 2 on the bow, 2 on the stern, and it's really awesome because I don't moor up or tie up to other boats or docks very often. I usually just beach this thing, but if I did want to leave it at a dock, if I did want to tie up to another boat, or what I used to do before I had the wonderful spot lock, which is a game changer, is I'd throw anchor. So I needed some cleats because these boats, none of them come with cleats. So naturally, I screwed them on, and the folding ones are awesome because I like to jump in and out of the boat, and so does my wife when we swim in the summer. Oh, when we swim in the summer. So I wanted folding cleats so I wouldn't break them off, and that way I wouldn't get caught up on things, but I needed cleats so I could throw anchor and fish. Really good, cheap option. I literally just screwed them directly in with some super glue, and they've held so well. Oh yeah, we can't forget one of my favorite mods, one of the best looking mods and one of the most useful mods for the least amount of money, That's a daggone fish ruler. This fish ruler cost me $22, $23 on Amazon. It goes up to 40 inches, which is great because I do a lot of bull redfish fishing, even in this boat. And I think the record in this boat is 39 inches. So you gotta have a ruler to get those big saltwater fish measured up on there. I just literally peel and stick, stuck it right on, matches the wood pretty good, makes the boat look great, and it's more functional. So I don't have to pull out my stupid tape measure every single time. But finally, let me put your pants back on, buddy. Sorry about that. Strip you naked. Finally, we have my trolling motor and the trolling motor head. That's right, these are technically two separate units. As you can see, it's been on spot lock this whole time, holding us within about a 5-foot radius, which is what I have 3 Minn Kota iPilots. They all have that 5-foot radius, and I believe, I don't know, they never said, but I believe it has that same radius that most GPS smart motors have. It pretty much does the exact same things as those, so I guess that's what it does. Anyway, let's start with the trolling motor itself, because they're two separate pieces. You can get them in one piece now, but whenever I got mine, that was not an option. I wish I would have got that option. My trolling motor is the Minn Kota Endura Max 55-pound thrust. Now, this is only rated for a 45-pound thrust. Or actually a 40-pound thrust. So yeah, when I really step on it, it'll move this boat 3.5 miles an hour, which is pretty good for a trolling motor. And it will flex that bow a little bit, that bow mount a little bit, which is not the end of the world. I haven't had an issue with it, used it 1,000 times. But the 55-pound thrust does move this boat pretty daggum good. I would recommend just going ahead and getting a 40 because this is a lightweight boat and you don't need to move it that fast with that much thrust. Anyway, with that being said, I do really enjoy the motor because it is a high quality motor, and it is, like I said, a Minn Kota Endura, which you might be saying, hey, that ain't no Endura. Actually, it is. The tiller model from Amazon. I paid $330 for it. That is that exact motor. Now, the fancy part is the Autoboat Smart Head. You see, what I did is I've got tons of videos on it, but I removed the tiller model, installed this one with quick connects, and it was game over. It took me about 5-10 minutes to install. And now we have spot lock, we have Northheading. You can actually go into the app and put in your own GPS coordinates. So if you wanted to fish this entire bank all day long, it'll self-drive you. Let's go ahead and get the remote out of here. I've got my dry storage. Comes with a fancy little remote, and I like these remotes much better than my big bulky iPilot remotes. I'm actually about to downgrade those to something like this. But as you can see, you can literally move it just like any other traditional bow mount, except this unit installs on the trolling motor that you already have. So if you already have a Minn Kota 30-pound Endura that you paid $50 for at a garage sale, you can put this motor on it, and it's going to have all of these different functions: Northheading, cruise control. I mean, it has everything that the big dogs have. Now, the unit costs about $700. So it's, you know, if you have to buy a $330 trolling motor, that's gonna put you a little over $1,000. But what they actually did is, since this was so extremely popular, that they decided to make an all-in-one unit. So Autoboat and Tiny Boat Nation teamed up, and they actually made their own trolling motor, so it's pre-installed for only $1,000. So if you don't already have a trolling motor, maybe you're starting from scratch, maybe you wanna keep your tiller trolling motor, because I don't blame you, I still have my old tiller trolling motor, or maybe you just flat out don't want to install it. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. You can buy their all-in-one kit, which is an absolute game changer. And if I would have got the all-in-one kit, it would have actually saved money, because this costs about $1,100 because I chose to get the most expensive Minn Kota I could, because I wanted it on I wanted a nice trolling motor on a nice head, is pretty much why I did that. But you could go to Walmart right now and buy a $140 one, get that $700 head, and under $1,000, you have what my $2,000 kayak motors have. My buddy just spent almost $3,000 on his Minn Kota iPilot to have the same features that I do, except he doesn't have the jog feature. You need the puck for that. This has the jog feature, if you know what that is, for spot lock and Northheading. Anyway, point being is, this motor, hands down, is the cheapest spot lock trolling motor that you can get. They're actually coming out with a foot control Bluetooth, so if you prefer that route versus the remote, then you can actually do the foot control Bluetooth option. They're coming out with a full LCD remote, so you've got all sorts of fun options coming. Let's go ahead and put it back on spot lock. But this thing has completely changed the way that this boat fishes. $700 or $1,000 for the all-in-one kit. The Autoboat Smart Head is hands down what makes this a true fishing machine. If you don't know what spot lock and Northheading is, I'll brush through it briefly. Basically, spot lock is a virtual anchor. You've been wondering, why is this boat, with all this wind and wake and current, how is it possibly staying in one spot? Well, it's connected to a satellite and it's doing adjustments. It's turning its head, as you can see. That's what that sound is. That's what it's doing. Adjusting speed to hold within a 5-foot radius, so you no longer have to throw anchor. And if you pull up to a fishing spot and you're in a river and you got a lot of current or whatever, you can see it's doing its thing now. It just spun the head. Whoop, spun the head all the way around. It'll hold you in position. Now, Northheading is pretty cool because I like to use that when I'm fishing parallel to the bank. I'll go straight and I'll hit Northheading and it keeps your boat completely straight. Oh, we got some big fish coming. Oh, they got spooked. They saw me. But if some wind or weight comes, that trolling motor will turn that way, compensate, and keep you on that straight path without you constantly having to touch the remote. With that being said, guys, my John boat is complete. I will be making the same video for the Pond Prowler very soon because the Pond Prowler is actually going to go to a new home. Anyway, stay tuned for that. Like I said, you can find everything in the link to the description. This is a killer boat. If you want more in-depth stability tests, more in-depth reviews, pros and cons, buyer's guides, how to register these things, anything that you could possibly want to know, including catching ginormous fish on this boat, is all on this channel. So if you like plastic John boats, you found the channel. Anyway, guys, as always, all the glory goes to our Father in heaven. As always, tight lines and God bless.